Donald Trump is in full panic mode right now. The desperation coming out of the White House has never been more obvious, and he's practically showing it off for the entire world to see. Unhinged threats aimed at reporters, governors, Republicans, and he's making sure everyone sees them by posting them on Truth Social, which is exactly what Donald Trump just did. Putting out a completely unhinged threat as a resignation bombshell has completely derailed his term, and his meltdown is impossible to ignore. We're going to break it all down. But before we get into the deranged and panicked post that Donald Trump just put up on Truth Social, we have to start with why he's spiraling so hard. And it's because his term has been an absolute disaster, and Jasmine Crockett called it out right here.
Worse. Like, it was bad the first time, so bad that he got kicked out of office, and then unfortunately America got amnesia, and somehow he ended up back in office, and now he is literally terrorizing everyone, from children that are born in this country to children that aren't born in this country to adults. It is really sickening, and if we are really going to get back to where we are truly great in this country, it is going to take really looking at your neighbors and seeing their humanity. He was able to dehumanize people during the election, whether it was trans folk or whether it was the immigrant. He dehumanized. And if you study anything about the Nazis, that is where it all starts, is the dehumanization. And none of us should be sitting by, even if we're not trans, even if we're not an immigrant. You have to understand that the dehumanization will come in for black folk. It will come in for women. It will come in for everyone, and that is why we unfortunately got here. But if we recognize where we went wrong, hopefully we can get back on track and recognize that our strength lies in our unity, because there's so many more of us than there are of them, this hateful, venomous.
Everything has gotten worse under Donald Trump. This is a guy who came in swearing he'd fix everything on day one, and the exact opposite has happened. Donald Trump has not preserved the strong economy that Joe Biden left him. And people are saying, oh, well, Trump promised more. He said things would improve, but they're just the same. No, he destroyed everything. Everything is worse. Undeniably worse. There is no case to be made that anything has improved for anyone who isn't already a billionaire with connections to this administration or has Trump as a last name and is raking in millions and billions from crypto scams and insider trading. That's just obvious, and everyone can see it. It's showing up in the polls.
These are all November polls. The best one of the group puts him at 14 points underwater. That's the Marquette University Law School poll, tied for the worst he's ever had in that poll. Fox, 17 points underwater. Maris, 17 points underwater. The Reuters Ipsos poll, 22 points underwater. And then taking the cake, the AP North poll, 26 points underwater. When your best poll has you still 14 points underwater, you know it's truly bad, and it's as bad as 26 points underwater. We're talking about an average well underwater with the deep blue sea, swimming with the fishes.
And now this is all parties here. If you think this is bad, Harry.
If you think this is bad, what is driving these horrific numbers for Donald Trump? Well, why don't we take a look at independents? Trump's net approval rating with independents. Back in January, he was close to even. He was at -4 points. Not great, but not terrible. Look at this number. 43 points underwater with independents in the most recent average of these polls. When you have 43 points underwater with independents, you know you're doing terribly. You can't win with this. If this holds for next year's midterm election, wave adios amigos, goodbye, see you later to that House Republican majority and that Senate Republican majority, very much in danger as well. When you take a look at the Pew Research validated voter survey going back to last year, he was basically even among independents with Kamala Harris. Now he is 43 points underwater. Whatever he is doing with independents, it ain't working. They despise him at this point.
That is just a colossal drop.
Oh, my God. It's a 40-point move.
Okay, that's among certain political groups here. How about what issues may be driving this?
Okay, yeah. So we say that independents are driving.
When it's crystal clear to everyone who's paying attention, and everyone paying attention is furious, because Donald Trump's administration is worse than we ever could have imagined. It's showing up in the polling, and it showed up in the elections we just had earlier in November. And that's not the only set of elections that Donald Trump needs to be worried about, because there are more special elections on the way. And of course, one of them is happening on Tuesday in Tennessee. Now, this is a district that Donald Trump won by 22 points, and the Republican member of Congress who vacated this seat did so by resigning after he helped Donald Trump pass what is the most unpopular piece of legislation, his one big beautiful bill, to come out of either of his terms. So Donald Trump watched as a Republican member of Congress resigned, thinking that his seat was safe for the next Republican because he was so repulsed and finished with Donald Trump after passing his bill that he decided, I'm going to go find myself some work in the private sector. And he assumed everything would be fine. But everything is not fine. A seat that Donald Trump won a year ago by 22 points has shifted so dramatically to the left because of Donald Trump's terrible budget, his repulsive administration, his destructive attacks on cities across this country, that this seat, Donald Trump is now trying to bully his way to victory. In this unhinged post right here, Trump wrote on Truth Social, I am asking all America First patriots in Tennessee's 7th Congressional District who haven't voted yet to please get out and vote on Election Day, Tuesday, December 2nd, for a phenomenal candidate, Matt Van Epps. Matt is fighting against a woman who hates Christianity, will take away your guns, wants open borders, transgender for everybody, men and women's sports, and openly disdains country music. She said all of those things precisely and without question. It's on tape. Do not take this race for granted. The radical left Democrats are spending a fortune to beat one of the best candidates we've ever had, Matt Van Epps. You can win this election for Matt. Get out and vote for Matt Van Epps, who has my complete and total endorsement. He will never let you down. And never let you down, he says. Well, there was once a man named Donald Trump who promised Republicans he would never let them down. And now those same Republicans are livid with Donald Trump. I also find it hilarious that Donald Trump thinks saying Aftyn Behn, who, by the way, is an incredible candidate who we are going to hear from in a moment, that she has disdain for country music and hates MAGA, is somehow a slam against her. First of all, these are not accurate statements that Donald Trump is making. But nobody has more contempt for his supporters than Donald Trump. He despises his own supporters. He thinks they're fat, they're ugly, things that are actually true about him, that he's fat and ugly, but he thinks they're stupid. Why do you think Donald Trump is the con artist that he is? Is it because he respects the intelligence of the people who support him? No. He thinks they're dumb as hell. He thinks they're gullible beyond belief. He thinks they're complete morons, and they are. If you're still buying Donald Trump's nonsense in the year of our Lord 2025, I apologize for my language, but seriously, you are a complete fool. And so Donald Trump absolutely views his own supporters that way. So it's incredibly funny to me that that is his attack on an incredible candidate who you are going to want to hear from. This might be the most important race that we've had since Donald Trump was elected all the way until the midterms. I don't know. There are a lot of important races, but it doesn't matter which is the most important race. You are going to want to hear from this incredible candidate.
This is competitive is because the Washington Republican agenda of delivering an economy that works for everyone has not delivered. And I think it's hilarious that Republicans and their billionaire friends are trying to spend millions to save a seat that they should win without thinking. But if we flip this seat, it will send a national message that the Republican Party needs to get serious about lowering healthcare costs.
But before we dive into some of those aspects in your race, I do want to get your views on your party, because there's been a debate since last year about the way forward in the party and the like, and voters still have a very low opinion of Democrats per many public polls. Even one recent poll showed that just 29% of Americans have a favorable view of Democrats. So what about your view about your party and your party's leaders, specifically about your party's leaders? Do you have confidence in your party's leaders?
Well, I've been running this race as a Democrat that cares about affordability, and I think that's what's going to win it for us. I think that there is a new generation of leadership in the party, and especially from the South, where we want to see Democratic leaders that step up, especially in moments like this that require a fearless, bold leadership. And that's, what I'm offering the district. And I think it's resonating with voters.
If you had a chance to, would you vote for Hakeem Jeffries as speaker?
We represent very different districts, and I've got 48 hours to flip a congressional district and really send a message to Washington, like I said, that they need to get serious about healthcare costs. Honestly, I haven't thought about it. But I want to say that I have been really grateful as someone who has organized in the South her entire life. I've been very grateful for the national support in this race. Tennessee is often a state that is overlooked and disinvested in. And to see national surrogates and national supporters providing monetary support and jumping in, it really means a lot to all of us. We welcome it all.
Yeah, speaking of that, I mean, because we are seeing both sides sending these big name surrogates in these final hours before Tuesday. And tomorrow, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is holding a tele-rally for you. Are you in line with her ideologically?
Like I said, I think that there is a strain of the Democratic Party that cares about holding corporations accountable and lowering costs for working families. And my politics are one in alignment of that. As a state legislator, I've worked to eliminate Tennessee's regressive grocery tax. As an organizer, I work to make healthcare more affordable in the state of Tennessee. And so I think those are the Democratic leaders and candidates that I really resonate with, are those that are trying to lower costs for working families.
Yeah, because Trump has been calling you, quote, the AOC of Tennessee. So, I mean, aren't you just feeding into that narrative by appearing with her?
Like I said, we're really grateful for the support across the political spectrum. And and for your listeners, the Teletown Hall also features former Vice President Al Gore, who is a Tennessee legend. So I look at it as iconic that you have, Democrats from all political stripes joining in on this moment and saying, we are standing up to what is happening in Washington, and we want to be part of the solution rather than the problem.
Yeah, because some of those you are campaigning with, including AOC, have called for ICE to be abolished. You have been sharply critical of the ICE raids in Nashville, but do you think that ICE should be abolished?
Like I said, I've got 48 hours to flip this congressional district and have been dogged about the message of affordability. And that's not what I'm hearing in the district. What I'm hearing is people, especially rural voters, are driving 4 hours to a hospital without care. We've got veterans that are going without, care because the VA hasn't been fully funded. And so these aren't the issues that I'm hearing about in the district. What I am hearing about is that grocery costs are high, utility bills are high, rent is high, and there's no kind of end in sight. And so my message has been one to lower costs.
This is exactly the kind of Democrat that we need. Even if this was just another congressional race, this is the type of Democrat that we need. And right now, in a district that went so heavily for Donald Trump, to be able to flip it, to be able to send that message, to potentially trigger more resignations,